Welcome to Recovery Reach by Recovery.com, where we talk about the business of recovery because the more people you reach, the more people you can help. Today on the show, local SEO isn't just a checkbox, it's a growth engine. Sam Knight, founder of Hoopless Marketing, shares how addiction treatment centers boosted visibility and calls by dialing in their hyperlocal strategy. If you've ever wondered how to win the map pack, this is your episode. Let's get into it. We're here to talk about you, about Hoopless, about local SEO and kind of how you've helped your clients in the behavioral health industry and other, I like how you phrase it, kind of sensitive industries within healthcare to really excel in their local markets, be that at a city level or a state level. Let's just get started talking a little bit about you, Sam. So who are you and what's your experience within behavioral health?
Yeah, so I've been doing behavioral health for a long time, pretty much my whole career. I mean, there's been stints here and there where I've helped all sorts of businesses, but my first job in this industry in digital marketing SEO was an entry level job for a large behavioral health addiction related directory. And so it was a lot of national SEO, very large website, thousands of pages, and a lot of content around substance use disorder and mental health. And so that was kind of my first glimpse into starting SEO when I knew very little about it. That was over a decade ago now. And that's how I actually found how much I liked SEO and how much it interested me. So yeah, that kind of progressed. Worked at an agency that was all primarily behavioral health care, addiction treatment centers, outpatient, inpatient. And eventually, my last role before I went fully with my own agency, Hoopless, I was the director of digital marketing at a multi-location behavioral health provider in Ohio. That's where I live in Ohio. So we had a couple residential facilities, one primary mental health primary, another one was SUD primary, medical detox, outpatient, sober living, the whole full continuum of care. So I managed their complete digital marketing strategy. It was primarily SEO because the facility, in my opinion, they were pretty smart with it. They were focusing on SEO from the very beginning. So they were already 10 years in business before they even spent $1 in Google ads.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. They built everything upon SEO. So they wanted to expand more, and there was just a lot more competition coming in and like national chains coming into town, and they realized that it wasn't, losing a bit of their market share. So I wanted to, so I came in to help them primarily with SEO, but we did start some Google ad campaigns as well, more social
Yeah,
media. So yeah, that was
that's awesome.
big
How many
rookie.
facilities did they have that you were managing SEO for?
So they had 2 residential facilities and then a group of sober living homes and like outpatients. I think
Mhm.
that's five sober
Okay.
livings.
And were these all clustered in the same kind of area? Were they spread out across the state?
Mostly central Ohio. Yeah, kind of clustered. Somewhere one of the residential facilities was outside of it was still considered central Ohio, but so Columbus primarily, but this one was out about an hour away, but so still technically central Ohio. But yeah, I mean, they primarily focused on the entire state. A big thing that I did, I was there in that role for 3 years, and a big initiative of mine was local SEO. It was kind of pivoting their whole strategy all along was for statewide. Um, and I came in and said, actually, let's focus more on where we are. And so it was a hard sell, but it worked out because saw 12 to 15% growth year over year for those 3 years by just actually scaling down rather than going statewide.
I
So
love unintuitive strategies. that you scaled down, but the revenue increased. What did you see? Kind of walk me through as you started that job and you learned what was working, what wasn't working. You saw these competitors coming in, and you decided, let's go local. What caused you to think that would be a viable path forward?
Right. So I see this with a lot of clients. And since we started our agency, we see it with clients there too. Though I started my agency this year, I had a consultancy for a couple of years before that. So, yeah, so I had all sorts of clients in my consultancy. And it's a common theme that I see where people go statewide, particularly behavioral health, like a residential facility. It's not uncommon for people to travel. People travel even out of state all the time to go to treatment. So, to them, it seemed obvious. Of course, we go statewide, but the problem is in SEO, it's, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because you go for something very competitive and, really in local search, anything with local intent, it's going to show a map pack first. So even if you rank first organic, you have those 3 Google listings, or like with your reviews, Google My Business, business profile, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
um, 3 of those rank first. So for any local intent, so say like medical detox near me or medical detox Columbus or Los Angeles or whatever, anything with a city name geo-modified in there, it's going to pull in a map pack. And so even if you rank first organic, you rank 4th. You're the 4th thing on the page at best. Usually there's other stuff too, and ads, all that stuff, and then the 3 organic Google listings, and then finally, probably at the bottom of the page, the first organic result. So, in the map pack, distance is a huge rank factor. And, another kind of misnomer, or I think just misconception, I guess, is that I see that a lot of people don't realize that your website directly influences how you rank in maps. So maps is also using information on your website on determining how you rank just in the map pack, as well as organic.
So when you were making that decision, were you kind of looking at the SERPs and being like, so maybe we're appearing on the first page for these statewide searches, but that still is putting us 8 on the
Right.
page.
We're just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because we weren't really utilizing the map pack, where for local intent search queries, the majority, or like at least half, usually it's, some different studies say different things. Some say 50%, some say 70% or more of anything with a local intent search term, 50 to 70% or more is going to the map pack, the traffic. So yeah, you can win that statewide, but the problem is, say you're in Cleveland and you search addiction treatment centers. Okay, you rank first organic, but they still have that map pack of everybody in Cleveland. So if you're a few hours away, then you're unlikely to win the map pack. But then at the same time, if you're trying to focus statewide on your website, you're also less likely to rank in the map pack in your own city. So you're not really ranking in the map pack anywhere. So it's kind of like, and it seems intuitive, like an assumption we should go statewide, but really it's kind of, shooting yourself in the foot. You're not ranking statewide or locally, where like you could at least be ranking locally. So that was kind of my theory and opinion with it, and the strategy of saying, okay, let's actually try to improve the map pack in Central Ohio as the primary strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it increased calls and worked as expected. And
Yeah. Well, let's kind of get into it. So let's say, with either with this specific example of the company you're working with or with some of the clients you've had consulting and at your agency, when you identify that, hey, we should work on local, and they say, sure, let's do it. What are some of the initial things that you start working on or that you would suggest your client to help them improve their positioning in the map pack?
yeah, so I'll kind of go over like the rank factors. So there's kind of like Google's published, like they have a page about like how to improve your local visibility and their rank factors. Although they don't list out the rank factors, they just say that, when they are determining ranking, it's based on relevance, prominence, and distance. So kind of vague, but Distance, pretty obvious. It's how far away the searcher is when they searched the term. Prominence is just how prominent you are. And so that might be some of the more traditional stuff with SEO, like link building, backlinks, but it's also reviews, PR being mentioned in the news, social media, all these things can help build prominence. Also, how many people visit you, like driving directions. Yeah, because Google tracks all that stuff. So, um,
Yeah.
how many people visit your business so they can kind of determine if you're prominent for that reason. And maybe branded search. If a lot of people are searching you by your brand name, that would also make you appear more prominent. And then lastly, relevance is just how relevant you are to the search terms. So that might be the stuff on your website. Like if the term is medical detox, well, does your website mention medical detox? How much does it talk about medical detox and how in depth? Or like maybe topical authority if you have blogs about it. So all of those services, whether it's residential or outpatient, regardless of the industry, yeah, the relevance from your website and your categories, the stuff on your business profile, the services. So those are basically the three areas where Google's going to determine who ranks first. So if you're on the front porch, if you're on the front porch of McDonald's and you say food near me, well, even if McDonald's has 1-star, 2-star average rating, if you're literally on the front porch, then they're going to show you McDonald's first. Like, hey, you're standing outside. Here's the
Yeah.
restaurant near you. But because if they have really low reviews and low prominence, like say there's a world famous restaurant 3 blocks away, you don't have to walk very far until those rankings change, where you do the same exact search term, food near me, and now all of a sudden, even though McDonald's is closer, this other restaurant's ranking before them because they have much higher prominence and relevance. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a weighted thing like that. And so, yeah, when approaching local SEO and improving that, it's going to be pretty much all those things. Distance, it's hard to change, but
Mhm.
that also goes into sometimes when I have a client right now, they're opening a new facility and I love it that they're kind of thinking this way because not everyone does. They kind of, first they set up a facility and then they're like, okay, now let's do SEO. And this one, since they've been doing SEO for a while, they know that this could be an opportunity, that they should consult with an SEO before they even decide where the new location is going to be.
Oh, interesting. Are you saying that they are thinking about their location less of like, all right, I'm driving, I'm looking for empty storefronts, I'm looking for real estate, and you're saying the calculus isn't just that. It's also, are there surrounding people in the map pack that may have
Right.
pop up?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you could find an area where, like, obviously you want to go where like the demographic you're trying to serve is, but also there could be opportunities where there's not really anybody. So if let's go back to that McDonald's analogy. If there isn't another restaurant for 200 miles, you're in the middle of the desert, then you could be 100 miles away and you search food near me. And like, even though they still have, maybe horrible reviews and not very much prominence, it's the only thing.
Yeah.
It is literally the only thing near you. So, it's the closest thing to you. So in a similar fashion, you can do that with SEO before you even set up and open your doors and find a location. You can kind of narrow it down to, okay, these neighborhoods might be in a position to rank in the map pack faster, or we'll have less competition there. Or, there might be the other way around where if there's a lot of competition there, but it's a really valuable neighborhood, like it's somewhere where you need to rank, or like very populated, or it has a high number of the population you're trying to serve,
Mhm.
then it's going to be very difficult to rank in the map pack unless you're in that neighborhood. So, it might be that, okay, we must be in that neighborhood or else it's going to be very unlikely there's 3 or 4 other treatment centers in there. Then that means it's unlikely we're ever going to be in the map pack unless we're in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Fascinating. So we're just talking about some local rank factors, and I guess I want to step a couple back just to talk more about the higher level web strategy. We kind of talked about this decision that you made to say, hey, actually, like, let's go local instead of going statewide. Um, are there any cases where you wouldn't recommend local? Either the type of treatment provided, the location of that facility itself, or is local, for 100% of folks going to be a better bet than going statewide or national?
Yeah, so virtual treatment, definitely you should go local. Usually you can't, you're not eligible usually for Google Business Profile. So to be even eligible to have a Google Business Profile, it has to, you have to serve people face to face. So
Mhm.
typically brick and mortar, or you go and visit them at their home, like a plumber or something like that. So virtual business, if you do virtual healthcare, telehealth, a lot of those terms don't even pull up a map pack anyway. So you would 100% be focusing on whatever it is, the demographic or the geographic that you're trying to serve. So statewide or national or multi-state. So local, if you do have brick and mortar, then yeah, I'd say about 100% of the time, local is going to be the bet. And that doesn't mean you can't go statewide. It just means that, same with national. It's if you have facilities in all sorts of different states, then yeah, you're going to have a national strategy. Like maybe your homepage and parent pages might be national. And then you might have a silo that's broken out or subdomains, or maybe you have separate websites for that city in particular, or for that state in particular. But yeah, I think really it's if you have a facility in Los Angeles, then yeah, I'd say 100% of the time that the bet is going to be Los Angeles because it's, for one, extremely competitive. I mean, even with national SEO, you kind of, and one reason I love kind of going all over the place. So I just
That's
thought
good.
of
Yeah,
uh,
this is great.
one of the reasons I love local is you can have results in local SEO a lot faster than national. And the reason that is because you're trying to rank nationally. Well, you're competing against everybody. Like it's so many, millions of websites you're trying to compete against. Whereas in a city, it's confined to just however many there are in that city. And so you're competing with a lot less. Um, and then there's also the map pack where you don't need some of the things that you just must have in national SEO, like a lot of backlinks. If it's a super competitive term, you're just not going to rank first unless you have a ton of authority. Whereas locally, you don't have to have that crazy amount of authority to get in the map pack. Even new businesses can pop up in the map pack, immediately. If they
Yeah.
start getting a few reviews, you can quickly start seeing results. Because in local, you don't rank like national SEO, it's like one person ranks first. And so like a typical, you go in like SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever tool, see how I rank. You rank first. You pretty much rank first wherever you search. But as soon as there's local intent, the map pack, you don't rank first. You rank first in a specific pinpoint. So
Mhm.
you might rank first, 2 blocks away, you're second or third or fourth or fifth. And so really it's different. That's why there's like grid scans and tools people use in local SEO to see like, okay, how far and not how do I rank in Columbus? Where in Columbus do I rank? Because
Yeah.
often it's going to be different on West Columbus versus East Columbus versus North or South. So you're trying to rank for a larger area as possible. So anyway, long-winded way to say, yeah, if you have a brick and mortar facility, you 100% want to be doing local SEO.
And tell me again, you said that you can actually see faster results from local as opposed to state. And I guess in my background, SEO does typically take some time because you need to get backlinks. Google needs to recognize quality traffic going to your website, seeing something they like, engaging in some way. But you're suggesting local is actually a way to kind of shortcut yourself to traffic a little bit faster. Is that right? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Absolutely. Yeah. So kind of back to like the McDonald's example, you're standing on the front porch and you search food near me, regardless of your authority, you're at least going to rank first right there on the front porch of McDonald's. So it's, or maybe a short radius, maybe it's 1 block. but it's like, hey, okay, that's one block where you rank first. So if someone searches within that block and calls you, boom, you just got a call or qualified lead from SEO. So that can happen almost immediately. Now, that's obviously less likely if it's only one block. You need people to be in that one block. But still, that's not possible in national SEO. You don't rank first for one block, you rank first nationally. So it's just, you're either everywhere or you're nowhere. So whereas in local, you could, at least be somewhere the moment you open your doors. And then with strategy and relevance and your website strategy and also backlinks, reviews, but really mainly your website, on-page factors, reviews, that can quickly start to be 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. All of a sudden, it's a whole neighborhood, which might be thousands of people nearby that see you first if they search that, like addiction treatment near me or counselors near me or something like that, therapists.
So you had mentioned the grid scan, and I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen images of this where it'll be overlaid on a map of a city. There'll be numbers in each kind of quadrant of that area. And I don't know if that references a certain radius or a neighborhood, but so that shows you where you appear within a map pack.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it shows
for folks who are just listening, could you kind of describe what this looks like for them?
Yeah. So you'll see a map. So you'll see a map of a city, like it looks like Google Maps kind of, and then it just has pins all over it. So you could do like a 15 by 15 grid scan, say maybe a 10-mile radius, and it'll be 15 by 15. And so rows of little pins, and it shows you on each pin where you rank in the map pack. So, and usually it's colored, like green would mean you're in the map pack. It might say second 1 or 2 or 3. Yeah, it's just little pins on a grid, and you can see, oh, okay, so in North Columbus, I rank 15th. So that's pretty bad, and I look red. But then, in South Columbus, I'm first. So now all of a sudden you see, okay, in half the city, I'm in the map pack. The other half in the city, I'm not even in the top 10. And that's pretty common. That can happen, where you're not going to know that using a traditional SEO tool. You might go to like SEMrush or something and search, how do I rank? And it might say you rank first. But then you go to Google and you search that term and you don't see yourself anywhere on the page. And you're like, where does that come? What does that mean? How does it say I'm ranking first? Well, because tools like SEMrush, they're going to base it off of a pin. Usually if you say addiction treatment near me and you just say, how do I rank for that? Well, from where? If you're searching nationally, usually it uses the centroid of whatever the geo is. So that might be, wow, I ranked 100th for addiction treatment near me. Well, SEMrush might be basing that off Idaho. And if you're in Ohio, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't tell you anything. And so grid scans give you that specificity of, because anything with local intent, it not only the map pack, it affects the organic rankings too. So that can all change depending on where you are in a city. So grids just help you see the specificity of a city.
Right. So say I'm 15th in North Columbus. I'm first in South Columbus, where my facility is based. Can you tell me how to improve my ranking if I'm not actually in North Columbus, but I want to show higher on that map pack? Is that possible?
Yeah. So there's, that's kind of the ongoing discussion in SEO on how to improve that, or that's what everyone's trying to do, I guess, is how do I improve my ranking where I'm not located. And generally what I see work is, putting pages on your website about that particular neighborhood. So say it's Clintonville is a town in North Columbus, kind of like a suburb or neighborhood, I guess, within city limits. You might have a page about Clintonville, addiction treatment in Clintonville, the services that are provided there, that are available there, or that you might mention that, hey, we're just 15 minutes away. And I really like, they're typically referred to as location pages or service area pages. It's a little tricky in this field because it's usually service area pages are found in like home services because they travel to their customer. So you might say, hey, we provide all those services in that city because, well, yeah, we travel there. Whereas if you're a brick and mortar, it becomes a little tricky of you don't want to confuse people either to make it or seem dishonest that saying that you're located in that town. So you don't want to
Yeah.
lie, obviously. So it's a fine line of creating pages that are unique to that town, but also telling Google and users that your business is relevant to that town, that you do have customers in that town. And I like putting map embeds and showing the driving directions. So, hey, we're just a 15-minute drive from that town. So yeah, those are ways that can help. And generally it's dialing it in rather than doing like, say you're in Columbus and you want to be in the map pack in Cleveland. I don't see much, that far away. That's a couple hours away.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to really get that much benefit. Probably won't do anything. You might be able to get in some organic rankings, but as far as the map pack's concerned, that's a little too far away unless you search specifically Columbus. But the closer you are in a city, so like this example, North Columbus, well, now, that's realistic. You rank 15, you could get in the map pack. And so having that content on your website about that town can be more impactful and actually lift you up back.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, if you're someone who's based in South Columbus, you won't likely be able to map pack for another city. But in a way, that's not a terrible thing. I mean, everyone wants more eyeballs, but the likelihood of someone searching addiction treatment near me in Cleveland to then want to go to Columbus it's harder for that to happen. So you're probably going to see lower CTRs for all that effort, and it might be wasted. Is that right?
Yeah, for that term specifically, or in Cleveland. But if they search in Ohio, well, now it's different. It kind of brings into that statewide thing where you might be able to get in the map pack and also rank organically. It's just that's a less likely term in my experience, usually, if anything, because even if you don't put near me or a city, say you just search addiction treatment centers, that will pull up a map pack. And it's typically going to be distance, relevance, prominence. So it's first going to show you things in your area. So it might not be super close, but it'll be like central Ohio. It'll show like maybe one over in the east, one in the north, one in the south, depending on how prominent you are and your competitors.
Let's talk about some common mistakes that you see, and would love some examples. I mean, maybe you ended up fixing a bunch of things at the treatment center organization you're with, or just with your clients. Some things that pop up a lot that is negatively impacting their ability to show up locally.
Yeah, so I think that statewide focus is a big one. A lot of, for instance, service pages, they'll just say like medical detox, and that's it. That'll be the heading of the page. When it should say the city, like medical detox in Columbus or in Los Angeles or whatever your city is, across the board on all the service pages. So that's a big thing. Probably the number one thing I see is just not mentioning the city enough. You'd think that they're trying to rank nationally, and that's how Google sees it too. Is if the page is just called medical detox, okay, this page is about medical detox. It's not going to gather that, no, this is about the service medical detox this is about a medical detox center in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden you're going to rank a lot better. So that's definitely number one thing. Also, Google Business Profile categories are a big thing. You can add up to 10 categories, and a lot of clients I see, they might only have one category or two categories.
Can you talk a little bit about what these categories are?
Yeah, so on Google Business Profile, you can select a primary category, and then you can also select additional categories. So your primary category might be addiction treatment center or a mental health service or a mental health clinic. Those are common ones in behavioral health. there's not one for detox specifically. Like it doesn't get very, they're very broad, the categories. So you pick a very broad category, but there's a whole lot additional categories that you can add. There's alcoholism treatment program. There's psychologist, psychotherapist, counselor, psychiatrist. Yeah, all sorts of ones that are related to behavioral health, and all of those are a proven rank factor. So those will help you rank better in the map pack. I usually try to get at least 5, and especially in this space, there usually is 5. There's a whole lot when you start adding in, addiction treatment, alcoholism
Yeah.
treatment.
Just real quick, is there any negative to adding categories that you clearly aren't serving?
Yeah, there can be. It's usually might just get rejected. Because Google will be crawling your website, so you want your website to match and reflect what your profile says. And the same thing when you verify, when you set up a new business profile, Google's doing video verification a lot now. And primarily in the addiction space. So the primary category is addiction treatment or alcoholism treatment program. You are almost, what I've seen is you're pretty much guaranteed, there's no way around it, you're going to get video verification. And what they're going to want to see is that your business, when you put the video on, they're going to see things that would match that. Like, does this look like an addiction treatment center? Right? Do you have the things that other addiction treatment centers have? So you may get suspended or not verified, or even if you add an additional category and it's not mentioned at all on your website, Google might just reject it. But for the most part, I'm pretty liberal with it. At least the additional categories I'll add. Sometimes I'll take up that full 10. So haven't seen really much any negative there. And there's not much benefit if it is totally unrelated and you don't even offer that service. It's not really worth putting anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, ethically, yeah, only add what you can serve to a patient who's in need and is searching, both for their sake, and plus Google might end up suspending your account if you would put a category down that you're not serving, and then they can verify that. So yeah, just a good tip for everybody out there. Don't start keyword stuffing your business categories.
Yeah, and I had one. Usually there's not a re-verification if you add an additional category, but if you don't have any addiction treatment related categories currently, like say your primary category, I had a client recently, last week, they had, it was a new client and they had just one category and it was mental health service, but they had a whole range of services. They had an IOP program for SUD. They had, mental health only programs. They have psychiatrists and counselors, all sorts of different services. And so they needed to have something SUD related because they did provide that service, and they just weren't aware about the category thing, weren't paying a whole lot of attention to their Google listing. So when I added addiction treatment center, boom, immediately Google wanted verification. And even though it had been verified for years, just the mere fact of adding that additional category, they wanted to now do the video again. It's okay, well, we didn't know you provide that. Now we want to see on video to confirm that you look like someone who because unfortunately it's considered, I don't think I mentioned this, but I know I mentioned to you, and it's on my LinkedIn, but I'm in the product expert program with Google, and there's a term used, that you might see called duress category, and addiction is in that realm of what a lot of us would call a duress category, unfortunately. And what that means is there's a lot of bad actors, and there's people trying to set up lead generation magnets when they don't even have an addiction treatment center, which is a violation of Google business profile policies. So because of the amount of spam in that space, if you add that category, it's going to put you more under the, on their radar, a little under the microscope a little bit more, to make sure that you're a legitimate business and you do what you say you do.
So back to local SEO, any other common mistakes that you're seeing either with folks trying to get into the map pack, with folks who are filling out their Google business profile, or on their website more generally?
Yeah. So another one that I think people don't realize, I don't know if it's a mistake or just an oversight, but there is in Google Business Profile a field called services. And the services, it's different from products. There's a products thing where it shows cards on your, typically that's for Google Merchant Center related businesses, retail store. But services, they're kind of buried where you don't really see them on your profile. Strangely enough, it's hard to actually find them. But the benefit is on the back end because they're proven to be a pretty strong rank factor by multiple different companies. Did case studies last year on services.
Yeah.
And in particular, it's Google auto suggested services. So if you go into Google Business Profile to edit it, you'll see services. You can click that and edit services. And it's going to break it down per category. So if you have 5 categories, so you say you have addiction treatment, you have alcoholism treatment program, you have mental health service, mental health clinic, you can go down per service and it says add services. And when you open that up, it's not guaranteed, but sometimes you will have suggestions from Google that are like auto filled in, and they're different per industry and per business. They just, it's worth checking every once in a while to make sure you didn't have some pop up in there. And if you see those suggestions, you should add them. Absolutely, because that has been proven to be a pretty strong rank factor. You can put custom services as well. And I know at least one proved that they did have a small rank factor. They did help. So they're also worth putting in custom services. So specifics for everything that you do, residential, PHP, IOP, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the stronger factor is any auto-suggested ones that kind of populate by Google. You want to select those.
Got it. So Google is recommending these, but you got to go in there and see what they recommended and accept it.
Yes.
Okay, that's an awesome tip.
What I'm specifically referring to is when it says add, you can add services, and there's a button with a plus mark. You go to add services, and it's going to show one of two things. It's either going to show a few little buttons with different service names, and then a button that says add custom services, or it's just going to say add custom services. So if it just says add custom services, you can type in custom ones. But yeah, what I'm referring to is if you see those buttons that says like, intensive outpatient or something, select that. Definitely.
That's awesome. You had you're a great poster on LinkedIn, always sharing some really nitty gritty stuff with local SEO. So everyone should go follow Sam. One post that you had the other day was about how you've started to see organic clicks go down, but that wasn't worrying for you as long as calls and other inquiries were at the same level, or in some cases even increasing. So what do you think that is caused by, where organic clicks are going down, but your conversions are actually the same, if not better? Should people be looking out for that and taking any action?
Yeah. So this is kind of a unique thing to local, because in local, you're going to have a Google Business Profile, and on your Google Business Profile, you can have your website link. And a lot of times it might be your homepage. When you go to Google Search Console and you are looking at your, SEO, organic performance, you might see impressions are through the roof, and you're not really getting clicks. And so in national SEO, that doesn't really look great because it means people aren't even visiting your business. But in local, what can happen is people can click on your Google Business Profile, they can go through your images, they can read reviews, and then they can call you. That click is never going to show up in Google Search Console.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll show one impression for that person, 0 click. But they might have called and they might have admitted. So you might have had a qualified lead or even an actual conversion. And if you're just looking at clicks, you would think, oh no, what's going on? It's when realistically you could be getting return on your SEO investment. So it's less important. Now with AI too and AI overviews, that's just increasing, where zero click marketing is just becoming more and more prominent, where you might not get clicks or traffic, but that doesn't mean you're not getting conversions. Because I had, this was last year. This actually was somewhat just a friend, but I was helping it. He's a plumber, but his organic conversions, so his organic qualified leads were higher than his organic traffic. So it's pretty wild that he was getting more customers than he was getting organic traffic. And the reason that was Google Business Profile. So they weren't actually visiting his website. They were just saw his Google listing, read some reviews. They made their decision from there without even looking at his website.
Yeah.
They already determined that's who they were going to call and called him.
So I feel like, as someone who's been a marketing director and has looked at attribution to figure out where should I divvy my dollars for the next quarter, for the next year, if I'm seeing impressions go up, but clicks are going down, I'm like, oh boy, so maybe we should avoid this channel. How do I know how I can attribute these calls when they're not going through my website and they're not hitting my call tracking metrics number?
Yeah, so you should be putting a custom number on Google Business Profile. That kind of goes into the other question of common mistakes. That's a very common mistake that I see, where people will have the same number on their website as on their Google Business Profile, and then you really don't know whether they came from Google Business Profile or where they came from. And so really, ideally, you want dynamic insertion on your website, and you have one number on your Google Business Profile that that any call from there was directly from your Google Business Profile. So it's from Maps or something, local search, map pack. But you can also have dynamic insertion, and there's another common mistake is this is specifically with call tracking metrics. Different tools you can also do it in CallRail and other tools, but a lot of facilities I know use call tracking metrics, and I've seen this a lot. There's a auto preset, and there's like a preset tracking source and call tracking metrics for Google My Business, and it's dynamic insertion. So the idea is if someone does go to your Google Business Profile, but they actually do click the website link and go to your website, you can have a dynamic insertion that swaps the number for referrals from that. So they came from that website link on your Google Business Profile.
Oh, interesting. So okay. So if they don't hit the number that's on your Google Business Profile, instead they go to your website, you can set call tracking metrics up so that the number that now appears on their website will still tie it back to your work on their Google My Business Profile.
Exactly. Yep. So then you can say, oh, okay, no, these calls were from actual organic search. So you could have a dynamic insertion for that. So traditional organic results. But then you can see, well, okay, that came from the website, but actually they found us in Maps because they came from our Google Business Profile. So that was another thing that I've implemented with some clients, where they assumed that all of their calls were coming from organic search. And when we implemented those two changes, they found out that actually over 60% of their calls were coming from Google Business Profile and the Treatment Center. So that kind of flipped their perspective upside down. If they thought this whole time that they were getting all their calls from organic results, when realistically they were all coming from the map pack. So super important.
So you can totally undervalue the thing that is actually the most valuable for you.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. And the mistake there also is you can put that preset, but how that preset is set up in call tracking metrics, and this is the same for any tool, how you would set up that dynamic insertion is there's a UTM parameter that it has in call tracking metrics. So it'll say anything referred from this UTM parameter, swap the number, and it's a UTM parameter for Google My Business. But you have to take that. It's not clear. I don't think it even tells you in call tracking metrics. You have to take that UTM parameter and put it on your Google Business Profile. So you go and edit your website link on your listing and amend that UTM parameter at the end of that, or else that dynamic swap's not going to work because that UTM doesn't actually exist. So call tracking metrics gets you kind of 90% of the way there for it to be pretty easy. But if you don't do that last 10%, go actually take that UTM and put it on your business profile, then it's not going to swap, because it's just going to look like the traffic came from the home page or the contact page or location, whatever page you have linked on your Google listing.
Yeah. That's a really good tip. Oh man, I feel like we could have another talk about call tracking metrics and attribution. I mean, it's one of the things that we see folks not doing properly, could be doing a lot better, and it can, really inform what is actually going on in your business versus what just your GA4 tells you out of the box or something.
Absolutely.
Man, that's fascinating.
Something more important, that attribution, because I think I've always kind of been, I think traffic and even rankings sometimes is a bit of a vanity metric, because I have another client, a behavioral health facility in Los Angeles. Their organic traffic, I was just looking at a report the other day that in March, their organic traffic is a new client, but their traffic is down 60% compared to March of last year. So at first glance, it looks really bad. But the reason why traffic is a vanity metric is you go to call tracking metrics and you see, oh, wait, no, our calls are pacing nearly 60% higher. So, wait, what's going on there? Traffic's down 60%, calls are tracking 60% higher. When you dig into it and you go into Google Search Console and start filtering, well, what got lost? And the traffic that got lost was primarily blog related, and it was like positive affirmations and all sorts of stuff that, this is a service business, behavioral health service provider. And yeah, they write blogs that are helpful and they rank for stuff. But at the end of the day, when you filtered, well, what's up? We saw that outpatient treatment programs, Los Angeles, IOP programs in Los Angeles, addiction treatment, Los Angeles, some of these keywords, the impressions were up 10,000%. And so, but they weren't getting clicks, it was impressions.
Yeah.
But then you went to call tracking metrics, you'd see the calls were coming from Google Business Profile. So, without all of those pieces together, it'd be confusing. Just what's going on here? Now can see that, okay, for service, local intent, those high value terms, we may not be getting traffic, but we're now on the map pack, so it's going to be a lot more impressions. And for blogs and things, if we rank less, we get less clicks, but people weren't calling from those pages anyway. So
yeah, man, that's fascinating. I don't know if this is a controversial question, but do we need to place as much importance on a facility's website as we do currently, or should we be placing equal importance on kind of like third-party channels like Google Business Profile or other review sites?
So your website does affect how you rank in Google Business Profile. So it is, I think, equally as, but it is super important. It's just the weird thing about it, I guess, that doesn't seem intuitive, is sometimes when I put a page on a website, say it's a location page, I'm not even really trying to get people to visit that page. I'm trying to send signals to Google so that we can rank better in the map pack as the result of that page. So that's just kind of the weird, is backwards, but that's kind of the strategy sometimes. I'm still putting just as much emphasis on the website. I'm just not so much looking for traffic necessarily or rankings. I'm really focusing on more of those real KPIs, like phone calls. Is it helping us get more phone calls from?
Yeah. Dang. All right. That's awesome. That's a really interesting and pretty unintuitive, I think, for folks who probably come to SEO for the first time. They're like, okay, yeah, let's get a location page set up and we'll get a ton of traffic to that page. But that traffic to the page is secondary to the benefits that having a page like that's going to help you with on Google and the map pack and Google Business Profile. That's a fascinating thing to think about. Well, we're close to time. Have we covered everything, Sam, that you were hoping to get out there? Any other hot takes or good tips or big mistakes you see people making that we should finish up with?
Yeah, I mean, I could go forever, honestly.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back for round 2 or round 3. Tell us a little bit about Hoopless. Tell us how we can find more info out about it, about you, and get contacted.
Yeah, so our website, hoopless.com, so Hoopless Marketing. So yeah, we merged up, started a new brand, Hoopless Marketing.
Yeah, gotcha. That's it. All right. Cool. What's your website?
Hoopless.com.
Hoopless.com. Awesome.
HOOPLESS.com. Yeah, so you contact us there. We have live chat. Also my LinkedIn, you mentioned on there. I post a lot on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll put all of these links in the chat so you guys can get in touch with Sam afterwards. Sam, thank you so much. This has been enlightening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love talking about this. So I really appreciate you reaching out.
Awesome.
That's today's episode. Thanks for listening to Recovery Reach. We'll see you next week. And remember, the more people you reach, the more you can help.